We are always there.
We are broadcasters, your home for Pensacola sports, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1, WEBY, Milton, Pensacola. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1, WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Happy Monday. Welcome into the program, Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 on the FM dial. I'm Joe Ford in with Coach K. Stevenson. Welcome to the program and welcome to college football game week. Florida and Miami now just 6 days away in Orlando, and very excited for that. We have high school football starting up this week. And, Coach, it is hope you had a good weekend. First of all, always glad to be here with you today. And here we go. It's game week.
Yeah, you bet. We've been waiting for this, and we're very happy it is game week, and we've got a lot to keep up with, Joe, as you well know. We're happy to be here with all of our listeners out there, too. I know we've got probably one of the best football areas in the country we live in. So absolutely, and we're appreciative of that, too.
Yeah, for sure. The number of high schools that are so good at football, the talent that this area produces, and it's sort of interesting. I'd like to call it kind of a melting pot of college football fandom, if you will, as we're a military town. So certainly we have the presence of Alabama and Auburn and Florida State and LSU, but there's so many people from so many places around the country, all very passionate about college football and the NFL as well. It's a very unique area, and we're certainly glad to be a part of it. And you're home for football throughout this season, going from high school all the way to the NFL coverage. Of course, the ESPN national shows on top of everything that we do here locally as well.
We might mention too, Joe, that we're gonna have some of the most interesting interviews as we've had in the past, but. Sure. During football season, they'll be most applicable. And we've got, for example, Danny Sheridan coming up tomorrow. Everybody wants to tune in for that, I'm sure. Danny is as you know, is the odds maker for Vegas and USA Today and many other publications.
So if you're not happy with the win-loss odds on who your favorite team is, well, Danny is the one to get mad at. So, we're planning on talking to him tomorrow. If you've been listening with any length of the program in the past couple of weeks, we've talked to Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich. Last week we had Jim Haslett on as well. So we have Danny Sheridan hopefully lined up for tomorrow. So it's here. Football season is here, and before long, we're going to have live games to watch and talk about with you the following week. What stood out to you, what you like, what you didn't like. The number, by the way, 972-1945. So anytime you want to weigh in, just give us a call, and we'll get you on to hear what you have to say. So the NFL, let's start there. We had preseason week number 2, Coach, and as always, like to just kind of take a look to see what stood out to you? What were some of the things that you liked? Maybe some things that you didn't like as we were ramping up here with the starters on most NFL teams getting more playing time, kind of peaking now this week in Week 3 before kind of taking Week 4 off, and then the regular season will be here before we know it. So we had a full slate of preseason games in Week 2. Just to ask you, Coach, what are some of the things that maybe stood out to you that you saw this weekend?
Well, I think there were quite a few, to be honest with you. Some of the young kids that are coming on, and also the value now that they represent to their club. For example, I'll tell you, it's an indictment of sorts, I guess, on the Auburn system. But Stidham is tearing it up at New England, and what a steal in the draft! There's a fourth-round draft pick, a late fourth round draft pick to the New England Patriots. He may well be. I'm not pronouncing him the incumbent yet, but he could be the incumbent to Tom Brady there. He certainly has shown a tremendous amount of ability. Now, we knew coming in, you weren't here, Joe, but going over last year, preparing for the year, and I had talked to a number of different scouts when Auburn signed the young man, and they all said he is the real deal. He's going to be one heck of a football player. He's going to be a heck of a quarterback. The problem would be if Malzahn really knew how to use a true pro-style passing quarterback, and obviously it doesn't fit his offense. He'd rather have the hybrid type guy, which is fine. That's what he does, and that's what he wants. That's fine. Go do it. But Stidham, I think to a certain extent, could have helped him a heck of a lot more at Auburn. But here he goes to the pros now, and look what he's doing. Also, we talked about this year. We've been talking about Ryan Finley. I liked him at the combine, quarterback from North Carolina State. He had an outstanding day there with Cincinnati. So we had, there were quite a few young guys that came on and just played extremely well. I think the center there for Minnesota, first-round pick out of North Carolina State, played extremely well. And I had a chance to watch him a little bit, and boy, he's good on those zone blocks, which they're doing up there now with Gary Kubiak there. They're a zone run team, and he's doing a heck of a job. There are many more, but that's just a few of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and a couple of teams, again, that we kind of highlighted towards the end of last week to pay close attention to as quarterback battles are ongoing. And those two teams, Washington and then the Miami Dolphins there. I thought it was interesting, and I suppose you never want to read too much into things, Coach, but there's a reason why certain players start over players that they're competing against. So Josh Rosen gets the start in preseason week 2. I would read into that right now he has the leg up in the competition headed into week 3, and it's probably his job to lose at this point, given that we're kind of into those pivotal stages of week 2 and week 3 of the preseason.
I think they got a steal with Rosen. I really do. And I certainly feel like he should be their starter right on through. Now, the kid's already been through the hard time. At Arizona, they threw him out there at Arizona with no offensive line. He got sacked. He got killed out there. But he hung in and did the type job you might expect. But he hung in there and did a good job for anybody thrown in that situation. And Miami gets him. And listen, let me tell you, this kid's he's got talent. He can throw the football. I like the way he has accuracy and gets the ball right in the spot. He gets the ball on the spot so much. I like him. I like a lot of things about him. I think he's an outstanding passer.
And the other team, the Redskins, they have gone with Case Keenum now in both of their preseason games to this point. Dwayne Haskins coming off the bench, who's looked pretty good. But I think it would appear that, barring a huge surprise, that Case Keenum is the likely starter for the Redskins week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. And just kind of reading here, ESPN, the folks that they've talked to in the organization, they love Haskins' talent, but from a standpoint of game reps, he's probably a little bit behind the other quarterbacks who came out in the first round of the draft. Certainly, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, Haskins really only 1 year as a starting quarterback in college, so he's going to get the opportunity, it would appear, to sit and learn, which a coach, we've talked about the Giants, and Daniel Jones is probably where you want him right now, especially given the number of reps that he's had.
No question about it. I think, and again, Daniel Jones, somebody I didn't mention, but my gosh, what a great second game he had. You know what really was kind of irritating, I'll be honest with you. They start jumping on. The kid had a fumble snap, and he had the ball knocked out of his hands on a sack. And they almost treated that like it was a cardinal sin. The rest of the game, he's like 11 for 14, 100 and some odd yards, and 2 touchdowns. Played like a seasoned pro. All right, I mean, my gosh, all right, that happens to the best of them. But that was no big deal to me. I mean, that's something that guys should just take for granted based on him being a rookie. And I think you're right at Washington. I think they feel good about their draft pick, but Case Keenum, they're crazy if they don't play Case Keenum to start with, because he's going to give them no doubt the best chance to win. And he's played pretty well now. Look what he did at Minnesota 2 years ago, and he really hung Denver in there on some ball games. I saw Denver play twice this past year, where a lesser quarterback, or lesser production from the quarterback position, let's put it that way, would have certainly meant a loss. So they got the best chance to win by playing him. But I do believe Haskins he has a great arm, can throw the ball well, is going to be a fine drop-back passer in the league. And this time is really good for him.
Yeah, and the other team that certainly not a quarterback battle per se, but all eyes are on the quarterback position here, is the Indianapolis Colts, because frankly we have no idea when we can expect to see Andrew Luck again. So for Frank Reich, it's all about, okay, seeing what we can do, seeing how the offense will look with Jacoby Brissett. And he looked the part. Again, it's only preseason, but saw a little bit of their game in the highlights against the Browns on Saturday there. And Brissett looked okay. He was, I think, 8 of 10 for 100 yards and a touchdown, so had command of the offense. He's now been there for a couple of seasons, so the Colts probably think that, okay, you know, we're able to get by, not unlike perhaps the Eagles were able to get by with Nick Foles as their starting quarterback.
Yeah, I think you're right. Exactly. I think Brissett looked good to me. I mean, I thought he threw the ball extremely well. Was right on the money. Had excellent vision. Just everything he did, everything we could see from television, which is very little compared to film. But everything I saw, he looked extremely good. And you got to remember that not many teams have quarterbacks ready as backups that they feel confident enough in that they can go in and run the whole offense. I think Brissett at this point, with his experience in being there this long, could really, they don't have to alter their offense any at all if he had to come in.
Looking around the NFL, when we last heard from Antonio Brown, he and the NFL appeared to make an agreement that he would be allowed to wear the specific type of helmet that he has worn his entire career if he found one that was manufactured in 2010 or later. He had found a couple of helmets made in 2010. He was looking for some that were made in 2011. And I believe he also found one that was manufactured in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I was under the impression, and Coach, I remember from what we were talking about, it would certainly appear that Antonio Brown was under the impression was that as long as the compromise was that as long as he found one that was dated 2010 or after, that he would be allowed to wear that particular helmet, no questions asked. Then I believe that the NFL came back saying, no, we also have to test the helmet. And so the helmets that he did find failed testing. So Antonio Brown's not happy again. And we had yesterday General Manager Mike Mayock of the Oakland Raiders come out and really put forth the official position of the Oakland Raiders, and this is what he sounded like.
We have supported that. We appreciate that. Okay, but at this point, we've pretty much exhausted all avenues of relief. So from our perspective, it's time for him to be all in or all out. Okay, so we're hoping he's back soon. We got 89 guys busting their tails. We are really excited about where this franchise is going, and we hope AB is going to be a big part of it starting week 1 against Denver.
So, Coach, you certainly understand and you can hear the frustration that has been boiling over now for 3 weeks with the Oakland Raiders. I thought it was interesting that not only did Mike Mayock come out and say this, but on all of the Oakland Raiders social media postings, the Twitter, the Facebook, the team website, it was branded as Mike Mayock's statement on Antonio Brown. So this wasn't just something where Mike Mayock was holding court with reporters and, this was just a quote that came out in the midst of that. I mean, this seems to me like a coordinated effort by the football team to really vent their frustration and to, finally get the message across to Antonio Brown publicly. Hey, it's go time. And, trying to control the message, so to speak, because, maybe you can look back at how Antonio Brown was with the Steelers and there was a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. Whose fault was it? Is this Antonio Brown? Is it Big Ben Roethlisberger? And folks are trying to choose side. Well, the Oakland Raiders are saying, look, it's go time. This is our position. This is our frustration. Here it is.
Well, certainly it was orchestrated. It was good cop, bad cop deal. But, I'm sick of hearing about Antonio Brown. I wish they could go get him a job as a brain surgeon in a hospital somewhere and let him go be a famous surgeon, or maybe find a cure for cancer. Maybe that's what he does well. It really, really turns me the wrong way to have a guy who has the ability and the opportunity to do what he's doing and make the money he's making and live the life he's living. You got to be kidding me. I mean, it's beyond anything that you can compare it with. I can't think of anything that you can compare it with. But that was I'm glad they made the move. I wish it was even stronger.
Yeah. And this is in kind of response or reaction to that. Mike Greenberg on ESPN's Get Up this morning had Antonio Brown's agent Drew Rosenhaus on, and this is a snippet of what Drew Rosenhaus had to say, again talking about Antonio Brown and the helmet situation.
I've talked to Mike multiple times yesterday. We are on the same page. We are working together. We understand the club's frustration. We understand that they want Antonio back. We get all of that. And everyone, please understand that he wants to be there. It is difficult for him to practice, take hits, whatever, with a piece of equipment that he's never used before. And so that's why we're trying to iron this out so everything can go smoothly the rest of the season. We're looking for a permanent solution.
So that was Drew Rosenhaus, Antonio Brown's agent there. And Coach, in some ways, I mean, I certainly understand where Antonio Brown's coming from. Do I wish it was being handled a certain way? Of course, absolutely. He's played with the particular equipment for a certain amount of years. The NFL told him, hey, if you find one manufactured this time or later, you can use it. Now seems they've kind of reversed that position a little bit, or at least added on the caveat. Well, not only do we have to have a helmet dated this, but it also has to pass.
Joe, it's very simple. I don't care when the helmet was made. It doesn't matter. It has to be NOCSI approved.
Right.
Now, if it was made yesterday, NOCSI still has to put the NOCSI seal on that helmet to say it is approved, because something may have happened in the production line that would have created a problem. So if NOCSI doesn't approve it, they can't use it. Now, that's so simple, it's unbelievable. I can't even believe how simple it is. And why you can't accept that, because every player in the National Football League has the same choice. You either wear the helmet that you're assigned to, or you don't play, period. Just that simple. Now, to me, I'd like to see Belichick handle this situation. It's ridiculous. It goes beyond the pale with me, way beyond.
And again, so now Antonio Brown was back at practice today. So again, this is a storyline that until there is a resolution, it's just going to keep coming out there. But the Raiders, it's not like Antonio Brown just decided to be a drama queen after he joined the Raiders. I mean, this is the deal with the devil, so to speak, that they signed up for. So, yes, I understand the Raiders' frustration, but at some point, in some level, they kind of bear the responsibility for the frustration that they now have, because this is a deal that you made with the player. You traded a third and a fifth rounder for him. You paid him $30 million guaranteed, and drama's not going to go away. It's just not. But again, Mike Mayock saying, "Hey, look, we want him back by." I thought it was interesting. Week 1 was the phraseology he used as far as hey, we expect him back by week 1, as opposed to
and I think I agree. I think it's crazy that they would leave him any wiggle room here at all. And the other thing, Drew Rosenhaus is just a BS artist. That's all I can tell you.
A lot of agents are, and you certainly kind of heard the agents speak there. But a lot more is going on behind the scenes. So, again, for the Raiders' standpoint, they want their guy in camp. It appears like he's back now in camp. But the helmet saga is not over, so we're still keeping tabs on that. Take a time out, switch gears to the world of college football now. We have a game coming up on Saturday. We've got the new AP poll coming out today, as a matter of fact, so a lot going on in the world of college football. We'll hit that next. Talk football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330, and on the FM at 99.1.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, "You've got to have money to make money," rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Your home is important. That's why Geico helps make it easy to save on condo insurance. Because home is more than just a place. Home is where you took minimalism too far because there's only one chair in your entire condo and your only entertainment is one card. Not even a deck of cards, but a single card. And all your guests have to share one plate and one fork, but you're convinced that less stuff means more freedom. The Geico Insurance Agency could help protect the overly minimalist broom closet you call home. Call Geico and see how easy it is to switch and save on condo insurance.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game. You can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Talk football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 on the FM dial. Joe Ford in with Coach K in studio. Spent the last segment going through the NFL news and notes and switching gears to college football week. It's game day. It's finally here. Florida and Miami in Orlando, 6 o'clock on ESPN. And college game day will be from Disney World there in Orlando as well. And it's finally here. We have high school football to look forward to. We'll have 2 games being carried this week because of the Blue Wahoos on ESPN Pensacola. Those 2 high school games on Thursday and Friday at 7 o'clock this week will be on News Radio 1620. So college football and high school football, we're officially into game week, and had a chance to visit Pine Forest High School, one of the teams that we'll be featuring this week, and getting to know the team and the coaches. And very exciting time, and certainly a rich tradition, Coach, of high school football in this area. And I'm looking forward to being a part of it this year.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's high school football in this area is about as good as you could find anywhere in the country. It really is.
And the college football in the state of Florida isn't bad either. In Florida and Miami. Collision course, one of those games that we wish took place every season. It hasn't quite worked out that way. Always like when all 3 teams in the state of Florida play each other in kind of that round robin fashion each week to kind of figure out who is the mythical state champion in the state of Florida. One day maybe they may get back to doing that on a yearly basis. In the world of college football, though, the AP poll is out. And for the first time in program history, the Clemson Tigers, to probably no surprise, are number 1. It's the first time that they have been number 1 in the preseason AP poll. So Dabo Swinney, another milestone to kind of check off the list there as the Clemson Tigers are certainly positioned and primed to being a perennial superpower in the world of college football. You have Alabama checking in at number 2, Georgia 3, Oklahoma 4, and Ohio State, Coach, rounding out the top 5. No real surprises there. Again, looking at the returning starters, the coaching staffs, some of the key players for each team. I don't like preseason polls, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail again. So finally have both the college and the AP polls coming out now, and pretty similar across the board there.
Yeah, that's certainly not unexpected, and I think you have to, with the interest that we have in this great game called football, you have to have the prognostications and the talk about polls and who's the best here and who's the best there and what was the best ever. All those types of things are going to be they're going to be pertinent in any long discussion about college or pro football. So just accept it and we move on. That's not a bad preseason poll. I don't think anybody could gripe too much about that. You know, you got a couple of teams that I would think would be close to moving in there, like Notre Dame. Certainly would be one. There's some people that say Texas might be another. You know, but anyway, it won't be long now. We're going to find out shortly.
Yeah, and rounding out the top 10, LSU coming in at number 6, Michigan 7. Maybe raising some few eyebrows here as the Wolverines are ranked above the Florida Gators. And, of course, the last time we saw those two teams on the field, again, a lot's changed. You know, new players come in. Players have either graduated to the NFL or have exhausted their eligibility, but Michigan ranked ahead of Florida. Certainly going to raise some eyebrows around here. Notre Dame checking in at number 9, and Texas at number 11. One change I know right away, because on the afternoon show, Chad and I have been going through 15 teams in 15 days, and Texas A&M was number 11 and Oregon was flipped, but Oregon checking in at number 11 in the AP poll, Texas A&M 12, Washington, Utah, and Penn State wrapping out the top 15 there. So a little bit of variation there between the AP and the coaches poll, but again, we're gonna get the ball kicked off on Saturday with one game, and then of course everybody else will be in action the following weekend as well. So certainly not long left to wait as we get going here. Ohio State naming their starting quarterback. To no surprise, it is Justin Fields. The transfer from Georgia. I'm sorry, it is Justin. For some reason, Josh was thrown around in my head. But Justin Fields, the starting quarterback, he will be under center when the Buckeyes kick off their season. No surprise there whatsoever. So now's the time, Coach, as we're a week or two away that programs are or already have named their starting quarterbacks. So Ohio State has done that. We, of course, saw Miami, and that got a little bit of publicity last week, because it was not Tate Martell, who we all thought they would. And Miami now, and Tate Martell specifically, may be trying his hand out at wide receiver. That was a piece of news that came out last week. Couldn't win the starting quarterback job. He's very athletic, we know that, and wouldn't be the first former quarterback to give wide receiver a try and see if he can't make a career out of that.
No, there have been some quarterbacks that have performed well as receivers. No question about it. Looking at the Michigan-Florida rating, I think you probably have to take into consideration the quarterbacks there. Patterson, I think, would be looked at, especially going into his second year now. Yeah. He would be looked at as a more pro-passing type quarterback with the ability to move the ball, put points on the board, a little more ready as a quarterback than Franks at Florida. And what you got to remember, Franks there were only 4 games there to go on, 4 or 5 games, because he had a tough year. Tough year going into those last 4 or 5 games.
All right, let's go to the phone line. We got Jonah chiming in. Jonah, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
Doing good. What do you got for us?
So I was listening, and I got to thinking about the preseason polls in general. Now, I can't think of a reason why we even do them to begin with. I feel like it sets up a lot of teams for failure. They're not. If we're at least taking into account how their first week goes, then we can accurately assess where they're at. Or else we have a similar situation like Michigan, where they lose to Appalachian State in the first week of the season, and they just completely dropped to the top 25. I was hoping one of y'all could explain to me better why exactly we do that, and maybe help me understand how it helps college football as opposed to hinder it.
Well, it's John, it's very obvious why it happens. That there are all types of polls and conversations regarding prognostication for the year. Who might be the best football team, the second best, so on, and then who might have the best quarterback, and it goes on and on and on. You can name the best. We could sit here and name how many best you want to go through, and I will promise you they've been discussed over many radio shows, television shows, newspapers have talked about them, and so on. So it's a part of the game. I don't really get upset by any stretch of the imagination, because I think it adds to the overall interest of the game of football. So I think that's just part of it that people are going to talk about. And I don't think you could minimize, even at this point, the extent to which people go about this. It's just a national pastime now.
Yeah, and I can't disagree with anything that you're saying, Coach. my thoughts are well known. I side with Jonah on this. I don't think it does the sport any favors to do it right now, other than that we get to talk about it. If it were me, if you put me over college football and said, okay, what changes are you going to make, I would do away with the preseason polls. I would, Jonah's giving us week 1, I would say give us a month. I would say give us 4 weeks to see the teams play and then rank them from there. And I think you'd probably have a more accurate picture of, who's what. And is it going to be terribly different than?
Now, keep in mind when they don't start rating teams for the playoffs until after they played, I think, 6 ball games.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
They don't even start.
I understand that. The problem is that we, as a college football fan, are conditioned to think about how good or bad teams are based on the polls that are coming out today. If a team is 6-0 at the time the college football playoff is there, the first rankings come out, they may or may not be ranked accordingly. But by and large, I think we as fans are conditioned to think that teams should be or shouldn't be good based on where they are ranked to start the season. If a team like a UCF or a Boise State or any of these mid-majors is 6-0 to start the season, but they are not ranked high to start the season, it doesn't matter. History has shown us that it doesn't matter. They just mathematically do not and will not have a chance to compete for the national title, especially in the day and age of the college football playoff.
Well, let me say this. To even insinuate that people don't talk about or there's no media hype on prognostication for the season would be like saying you cannot talk about football until football season starts. Not going to happen.
I understand that. I understand that.
So, to me, it's not a big deal. It's really not. Everybody does it. I think most people realize that it is a guess on the part of most people. Everybody, really. I don't care how much your background puts you in the football arena. It's still there's still a certain amount of guessing that goes on.
Would you agree or disagree that preseason polls put teams at a disadvantage before a single game has been played?
No.
Okay.
We
will fundamentally disagree on that.
Yeah, I don't think these polls I don't think they mean anything. And you're going to wait until keep in mind the poll that matters does not even start. They don't meet until after the 6 games are played. So up until then, shoot, that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun.
I get it.
People
understand
have fun doing it.
I get it.
You'd be surprised what goes on.
Do you mind if I point something out?
Yeah, sure.
So the first thing that comes to mind, Coach K, I'm sorry I disagree with you, is a couple of 3 teams off the top of my head is 07 Hawaii, where they ran the table against the WAC. And I'm sure we're all very happy with the level of their opponents there, and they got trashed by Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Many of the talking heads on TV were arguing that they deserved a spot in the national championship. And then we have the Utah team that went in and beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, and then we have the quote-unquote national champions and UCF that beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl. That really, they should have been in a better bowl in contention for the national championship if they had won all their games. If UCF would have been ranked higher in the AP preseason poll, the coaches poll preseason poll, they would have had a better shot at it. Instead, they're climbing from behind, and I feel like every mid-major team is kind of set up for a disadvantage of the Power 5 after there, but I understand the money that goes into it. I'm sure the Power 5 schools are in the college football playoff because they're expected to be in one of those top things. So I disagree with you, Coach K. I feel like it hurts more than anything.
Well,
if we had a playoff system set up for Division II, it might help them, but not with these pre-selected bowls.
John, here's what you're going to have to realize now. The UCF situation, and that was a couple of years ago. They had a very good football team, But under no circumstances, they didn't fit any of the criterion for being ranked in the playoffs, in the college playoffs. Based on the criterion that these people used to rank football teams, they didn't even come close. So you can't say, well, they were undefeated, but you could be undefeated. It's just like Georgia last year. I certainly have. I have talked to a couple of people that are good football people that watch Georgia very closely. They're big Georgia fans as well, and they're scouts. And Georgia last year, I think they threw the towel in. Didn't want to be in a bowl game, and that's what could happen. I guess it's a shame. You don't ever want to see a team not play their best. That's a bad commentary on any team that doesn't. But that's what happens sometimes, given the circumstances. You've certainly heard about the trap games where a team gets caught in between two teams that they feel like they are going to have to go above and beyond to beat, and the team in between that they felt they had no problem beating ends up winning the ball game. So there are a lot of things that happen that we don't feel are kosher, but they're there.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all's time, Joe, Coach K. Apparently, last time I called in, my father-in-law heard me, so I want to shout out my father-in-law, Stacy Richter, and I'll be talking to y'all soon. Take it easy.
All right,
okay.
Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, again, preseason polls, Coach, we're just going to fundamentally disagree, and that's okay. We talk about them. You're certainly correct that it generates excitement and buzz for the season, and I would say that even without preseason polls, I don't think there would be necessarily any less buzz generated for the college football season. But it's the reality, and we all understand that it's the reality that we live in with the landscape of college football. The truth is that it's always going to be subjective.
Let me tell you one other thing that might be of interest to you. Every year when the schedule comes out, coaches privately, without anybody else being involved, anywhere in their organization even, but coaches will get together and go through the schedule and start looking at the pluses and minuses. They're looking for trap games. They're looking for time problems that you might have. In other words, playing games a little too close together,
right,
along with travel. And there are many things that they start looking at, and they circle these games that usually you have to be aware of, or that you feel that you have to get a win in. But coaches will do that. You'd be surprised if you took a schedule that coaches have worked on. You'd be surprised how it's marked up.
Oh, sure,
because
absolutely.
they do go through the schedule, and they do prognostication themselves, and we all did it, and it's just part of it.
Oh, good conversation there. Again, Jonah, thanks so much for the call there. We'll take a time out, come back with more discussion on the world and landscape of college football. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, FM 99.1.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
If you're a small business owner, there's no better place to find the impact hire to help your business than LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends qualified candidates from their community of engaged and career-minded people, candidates who you likely won't be able to reach anywhere else. The truth is, over 70% of the U.S. workforce is on LinkedIn, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting a job on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/sports to get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports for $50 off your first job post. linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC. Instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. New week, new signal changes. Hope you're making the switch with us again. 1330 on the AM, 99.1 FM. A much stronger signal. I'm sure you will have noticed throughout town. Certainly nothing but good news for area sports fans, not just in Pensacola, Santa Rosa County as well. A very strong signal that's going to reach far and wide around the Pensacola area. So we're certainly happy to bring you the best coverage, ESPN programming, and local lineup, which includes high school football and college and NFL, as we get rolling here. As the month of August comes to a close here in a couple of weeks, and we switch to September. A lot of good things in store, and I hope you're sticking around for it, as nothing but good things are on the horizon. And Coach, good conversation there. The preseason polls and just the prognostication that goes on, and a guy that knows a bit about prognostication, Danny Sheridan. He may either be your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on who your favorite college football team is. Hear him a lot on Paul Feinbaum's show. He'll be joining you tomorrow. So local fans can certainly be excited about that.
You know, when he's on the Paul Feinbaum show, their audience spikes anytime he's going to be on there. He's so popular. Now, you either love him or you hate him, because he tells the truth, and he will occasionally, which people, it's hard to understand how people, if you say anything about their football team not winning a game, you become an enemy, you know. But he tells it like it is, win or lose, and I think you'll certainly enjoy hearing him tomorrow. And you're welcome to call in if you have a question. Certainly feel free to call in. We'll be going at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy who's not afraid to tell it like it is, at least in his own mind, is head coach, the Washington State head coach Mike Leach. And Coach, you either he's another guy that I think there's no real middle ground on. You kind of either you're all in on what he is and his I don't know if shtick is the right word, but his character, his persona, or you're kind of put off by it. But we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that HBO was in talks for a Hard Knocks style show of a college football program, and on that short list was Alabama, Arizona, Penn State, along with Washington State. Nick Saban probably didn't want any part of that. Herm Edwards at Arizona State would have been a bit interesting, Penn State as well, but it is Washington State, and certainly a lot that goes into that decision is the personality of the head coach, and Mike Leach is entertaining. He has a lot of interesting things to say, whether or not it makes sense or not, Coach. But the idea of a Hard Knock style show for college, do you think this is something that college football fans will buy into?
Probably so. I don't know. People like that type thing, but certainly as a coach, I've said many times before, I'd lay down on the railroad track before I'd let it happen. There's just no way I would allow that intrusion into my football program. Now, Leach is a very unusual guy, to say the least, and he can come up with some one-liners that would put him in a class by himself, no doubt about that. I'd like to get Mike on one day. We'll see about having him. He kind of reminds me of a coach I used to have that later on, a guy named Jerry Glanville.
Yeah.
Was my secondary coach at Buffalo, and of course he later went on and was head coach at Houston and Atlanta. And but Jerry was he could say it all.
And he was the one who was famous for the quote, "The NFL stands not for long." I think he was talking about an official, or he was talking to an official at the time, and I think one of the field mics for NFL Films caught him on one of those videos talking to an official who had made a bad call, and he said, "NFL is not for long when you make a call like that," or something. But yeah, Jerry Glanville always one of those guys that when the mics were on, you never knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And he's certainly the case with Mike Leach there. We'll take a quick timeout. Coming back, more news and notes from around the world of college football and the NFL, see what we may have missed on a Monday. We'll stick around here on Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
At Indeed, we believe a resume is a great way to see an overview of a candidate, but you're not hiring a resume, you're hiring a person. That's why Indeed offers tools that help bridge the gap between a candidate and the resume, like skill tests, which let you actually see a candidate's abilities in action to make sure they're a good fit for the job. See beyond the resume with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330. FM 99.1. It's Talk Football with Coach K. Joe Ford and Coach K. Stevenson with you in studio as spent the past hour going through the NFL and college football. High school football to look forward to. We'll be broadcasting on our sister station, News Radio 1620, high school football both Thursday and Friday. Had a chance to visit with head football coach Just McDonald down at Pine Forest today as he's got his guys ready to go, and they'll be in action Friday. We'll again have that game on sister station News Radio 1620 as the Wahoo season closes out, and once they're done, we'll switch over to ESPN Pensacola, bringing you a full season of high school football action. Coach, 4 teams in the world of college football that are certainly more popular than others, even though it is a melting pot of sorts here in the Pensacola area. Fans of a lot of teams around here. But as we are now into a game week, Florida and Miami now on Saturday, things that we are really going to be looking for. Has there been marketed improvement in a particular area? Has a weakness been addressed? So we'll start with the Gators as they're in action on Saturday, Coach. Things that you need to see to know if the Gators are positioned to make a deep run.
It's going to be very interesting to watch Florida play. Now, they made their hay last year with their defense. I think Grantham down there, the defensive coordinator, no wonder he's being paid what he's being paid, because he has made one heck of a difference. He's been a good coach everywhere he's been, and he's coached in a number of different places. But he has been especially good at the University of Florida, I think. So I think how their defense holds up, I think they're going to have to they're going to have to carry the football team as they did much of last year, certainly early in the year. The key on offense is going to be whether Franks can come back and duplicate what he did in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
Now as a quarterback starting the season, because last year he was bordered on terrible until the last 4 or 5 ball games of the year. So we'll see how those things go. But defensively, they're going to have to carry that football team, I think, and Grantham is the key there.
Florida State has a big neutral site game in Jacksonville a week from Saturday against Boise State, the giant killer, at least historically. And ever since Chris Peterson has left, that program certainly isn't at the level that it was, although there's certainly enough talent there to keep up and to knock off the quote unquote big boys. And Boise State's going to come in here. They're certainly not going to necessarily fear Florida State given the current state of the program. This one, Coach, to me, is all about how the offensive line performs. I think that's going to make or break their season, Coach.
Well, for Florida State, I think the advantage one big advantage they're going to have is the weather. Boise State coming in here to this heat and humidity in Jacksonville, Florida, at the time they're coming in, is going to be they're going to have to overcome that some way, somehow. Not easy to do. So that's number one. Number two, I last year, and I said this, and it was just a very obvious situation. Florida State really they didn't know whether they were fish or fowl, whether the skinning or scaling, because they really had no identity on offense and as little on defense as well. So, but I think they're going to have to. They've named Blackman their starting quarterback, but they're going to have to make. They've got 3 quarterbacks now that in camp that have some experience, so they're going to have to make a decision pretty early on. And I would think in this ball game, maybe by halftime or certainly early third quarter as to how they want to handle that quarterback situation. If it's not going well, then they're going to have to make a determination, make a change.
Alabama starting off the season, the past few years they've kind of have liked to start off the year with the big time interconference matchup in a neutral site. The competition's probably being scaled back a little bit, but for Alabama, it's a quality opponent in Duke. It's not necessarily a pushover, but it's also not that elite matchup that we've been used to seeing the last couple of years. Coach, quickly, one thing that you're looking forward to seeing out of Alabama.
Run game. I think he's going to move toward that, and I think you're going to see it early in the first ball game.
That's going to do it for us on a Monday. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 a.m. on the FM 99.1.
It's almost fall, and that means football. And ESPN Pensacola 1330 is all about football. We've got UWF Argos football every Saturday,